Hi everybody, it's Doug Wilson for Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. We got Bob here. He is like the wilderness medicine guru, right? If there's anybody that I would want in my corner in a wilderness backcountry situation, it's him, right? Especially if I get hurt, right? So, Bob's going to talk about constricting bands versus tourniquets. Why not, etc. You guys stay tuned. We're going to get right to it.
So you guys thought this was going to be a video on tourniquets and stuff. All we're doing is showing off Doug's guns. Anyway,
cut, Bob. Cut.
This is for Greg McClure. He asked us to do something like this, constricting versus tourniquet. He's Semper Fi brother. This is for you. Ex-Navy corpsman and a special ops guy. Where you going?
I'm looking for a pen. That's okay. I was going to put a little mark where the cut was. That's okay. Are you doing videos?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, as I've said before multiple times, if you've seen some of my first aid videos, either through Grizz on YouTube and or Yellow Hawk Custom Outdoors, I'm not a big fan of tourniquets. Okay, and there's a reason for that. After 44 some years in the operating room, we rarely use the tourniquet for anything at all, other than the compression ones in the hospital that blow up with, the CO2 or oxygen or whatever, okay? But if you're in the field, the best thing you have with you to stop very serious bleeding, or not stop it totally, but to control it and bring it down to where you can put pressure dressings on it, elevate it.
Manage it.
If you bleed through, you can put more compression dressings on it, elevate it, and so forth, so you can evac somebody to a hospital, is basically your BDU belt, or a constricting band. This is about 1.5 inches, some are 2 inches. You don't want anything any narrower, because a narrower band can cause death of tissue.
Right.
You want to have the pressure over a broad area to compress. Okay?
So you're not damaging anything.
So you're not constricting and pulling in the skin and making it dead. So you're not helping the cut down here, as well as you're not helping your viable skin up here. Okay. If you look at well, let's say this person has cut himself with his knife about here. Okay. If you look at the skin, you'll notice there's blanching. It's a redness there, okay, or a pinkness. Now, what he just did was he did a blanch test. See how it goes white or clear? Do that again.
You can kind of see it.
It goes like a light.
It goes from white to red.
And that's his capillary fill. Okay, that's his capillary fill. Okay, now. The vessels, there's a radial artery down in here, okay, let's say that's your biggest artery in the forearm, okay. They're deep. Most of the time your cuts aren't so deep that they go through muscle to bone or cut the artery. The arteries are placed, this is the radius, it's somewhere along here, okay, where the thumb is. This is the radius, this is the ulna. There's also an ulnar nerve and
your pulse.
Right, an
That's
artery.
The radial artery.
And the radial artery also, and there's also nerves, okay? You will probably cut the nerves first before you cut the vessel. Also, if you have a decent forearm that's kind of muscular, you will probably cut muscle more than anything else, and it'll be superficial, okay? Now, I know there's going to be EMTs and nurses and doctors out there that say Bob's full of shit. That's okay. God bless you guys. Love you. Anyway, so what happens most of the time when you're out in the woods isn't going to be as big as you think it's going to be. Because guys carry like surgical field hospitals with them out into the woods, and they really don't need it because they have gear on them or things on them that they can utilize until someone is evac. You should have an evac plan. There should be an area in your area where you can land a chopper that doesn't have power lines, or there's not a lot of trees or whatever. It might have a field. There should be a road access where an ambulance might be able to get back into. Either it's a ranger road, a fire road, or some sort of a fire break, whatever. Okay, these are things you should look into prior to you going into your area.
This is all pre-planning.
Yeah, where's your local hospital, so forth and so on. Okay, now I'm not going to demonstrate a regular tourniquet. That's not what this is about. There's plenty of videos on that, and you can read the instructions. I personally would not use a tourniquet on anyone. I don't care how bad they're bleeding. Okay, so
They're dangerous.
it's
guys.
life or limb, and you have a time constraint as to how long they should be on for, when you should release them. When I was in the Navy, we were taught that if you put a tourniquet on, you put the time with a magic marker on the guy's forehead. And we released them every 15 to 20 minutes and then reapplied them. But it wasn't so tight that it created numbness and tingling in the fingers, okay? And the arm started getting dusky, like almost like a gray, all right? And cut down on the vascular fill here to keep the rest of the surrounding tissue alive, okay? So the good rule of thumb is you always go above the injury or the cut, okay? So we're saying the cut's here, the laceration is here, okay? And I've come to a conclusion that, okay, I've used direct pressure. Maybe I might use a pressure point. I might use direct pressure and a pressure point, okay? I've elevated his arm. It just doesn't seem to stop. Now, veins will stop within 10 minutes. Veins do not bleed. They don't have the pumping action
Usually.
that an artery has, okay? So most of the time it's just weeping, and it's no big deal. But an artery eventually will close itself off, but at the moment you do not know that, and you do not know when it will do that, okay? So you now thought that you've done a check, and you say, okay, now this guy's just bleeding through a little bit too much. I patted him up. I maybe put a little A-strap on him.
Bleeding.
It's bleeding through. He's starting to get shocky. He's getting a little sweaty. He's a little delirious. He's getting ashen, rapid heartbeat, whatever. Shot.
Sweating.
Face is pale, raise the tail. Face is red, raise the head, okay? You want to keep him comfortable. If he's conscious, you can give him sips of water or whatever. You don't want to feed him or anything like that, okay? And just talk to the person and keep them calm, all right? So what I want to do is come up here, all right? I took my BDU belt off. And by the way, you won't see these belts anywhere. These were made by the 20th SF group when I was in, a little before Doug. They were made out of parachute straps, and the guys wore them before a BDU belt was actually made, okay? So we're going to take this about 4 fingers above, well, it's going to be above this area, but 4 fingers. We're not going to bring it down here.
4 fingers
and we're
above
not,
the joint?
Above the joint. We're not going to bring it up here. About 4 fingers or so, okay?
Well, my guns are so huge.
His guns are so huge, yeah.
Be careful.
So what I want to do is I want to tighten it a little bit like this, okay? I can watch as I start to constrict to see if that blood starts to slow down.
Right.
You don't want the blood to totally stop, okay? You want to have a little bit of it go in.
You got to have tissue perfusion, or something's going to die.
Exactly. So what we do is we got them here. You can sometimes, if this is good, you can get a finger under, maybe 2 fingers under. That might be good. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ratchet this down a little bit, and as you can already see, the area around here is getting white. Okay. And you notice there's more of a fill here because we're actually pushing the blood fill up here down to here. Right. You can see it getting a little redder.
Let me say something real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. The reason it's doing that is because arteries carry blood away from the heart to the extremities. Veins take that blood, switch it back over to the veins, and it goes back through the heart, so it carries it to the heart.
Yeah, veins is the deoxygenated
it's
blood.
It's all under pressure.
And artery is oxygenated blood. Arteries have 3 tunics on them that make them actual do contraction. Veins do not. Okay, they're just a regular pipeline. Okay, so now I got this on here and secure. I've looked at his arm and I said, okay, fine, it's slowing down, and I will put a pressure dressing on, and I'll still elevate it, okay? So in the meantime, while he's being evac, I will do what's called circ checks, like every 10, 15 minutes. I'll say, hey, Doug, do you have any numbness or tingling in your fingertips? No numbness. Can you move your hand, extend, open and close your hand, bend and flex your wrist, okay, flex and extend your wrist, okay. Now, and I will come down here and I will go like this, and I will do the circ checks. How fast is there a fill? I mean, it should be within seconds that this should fill. Okay, see how quick they fills right there? So forth, okay? If you're not getting any fill or you're getting blanching, okay, and he's having numbness and tingling down here, and actually maybe some pain, okay, you might want to loosen this tourniquet up a little bit, all along watching to make sure that vein hasn't been popped and pushing out more blood. So what we want to do is when we loosen it up a little bit, we watch to see, we make sure there's good blood flow, tingling, whatever. And usually that artery will start to close itself off, okay? If there's a little bit of weeping, that's no problem. You just put more. You never take away. You always put more on top, and you can take a ACE wrap lightly, not constrictingly, because you're doing damage here and here at the same time. Okay, so firm that it's enough with enough padding under it to compress the whole thing. All right, and then you do your checks every 10 to 15 minutes or so to make sure this limb is viable. Okay, now the only reason I can tell you this is that I was a corpsman during Vietnam. I was also a medic in the Army. I was a surgical first assist and surgical technologist in neurosurgery and orthopedics, and I did others for 44 years. Doug did some medical training when he was in special ops, okay? So we're not saying we're doctors, nurses, professionals, whatever. We're paraprofessionals. So you're going to do this at your own risk, okay? Hopefully you'll never have to do this. In my 30, 40 some odd years of being in the outdoors, I've never had to do anything like this.
Right.
And why? Because we taught good axe safety, good knife safety, okay, how to use them, how to clear an area, not putting your leg in the way when you're chopping something, how to draw away from you, cut away from you, how to have a sharp knife, so forth and so on. Okay.
Prevention.
But it's always good to be prepared. So if you have a BDU belt, you already have a constricting band. There's really no need for a tourniquet.
Right.
So when he's taken into the hospital, now you might want to take his pulse. You can take his pulse, make sure he's got a good pulse down here. Do not use your thumb because your thumb has a pulse in it. Okay. Right. So you take these two fingers here. Okay. And this is for the extremity. You want to get a good pulse reading on him, just him personally. You take your fingers here and put them up underneath the jaw and look for the carotid artery. Okay. It's also a good technique in martial arts if you want to take somebody out. But anyway, that was a default. But anyway, that's just a general overall review of a constricting band. Like I said, it's up to you whether you use this technique or not. Like I said before, it's the least tissue damaging, okay? And even though people say you have a good Samaritan law and that you're going to help somebody,
right.
When that person loses fingers or has to have an
because you used the tourniquet
below elbow amputation because you just went with a little too helter skelter with this stuff, you get sued. I don't care what anybody says. All right. So this is Bob, and take this with a grain of salt, and remember that there's always better ways that are less harmful to the patient than to throw even a constricting band on. Use your judgment. So this is Bob out. God bless you.
See ya. Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. Combat and wilderness grade custom knife and sheath systems. We've got the badass gear for the badass outdoorsman. Yellow Hawk.